you guys? Welcome back to the SNES Geek. So yeah, as you can tell, there's a TV in the background, now you know. Okay, so when it comes to sequels, there's always been sort of a mixed reputation amongst them. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great, but most of them at least have something to say, well, at least to an extent. And when you really think about a sequel, you should actually do a more interesting title, something to really capture the viewer. Now, I've talked about Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, in the previous video, and now it's about time to talk about the sequel. And how exactly do you do when you do a sequel with the title? Well, you cannot simply name it Cortex Strikes Back again, because if you think about it, why would it strike back a second time when it's already been striking back? Well, the title is actually Crash Bandicoot Warped for the original Sony PlayStation. So yes, this game had a lot to live up to after the success of the second game. Fun fact, I think the second game cost about $2 million to make. I mean, that's insane! Insanely cheap compared to now the games cost over $100 million. Holy shit! So anyway, this had a lot to live up to. And did it do it? Well, let's actually take a look at as many aspects as possible. This game kicks off from where the second game left off. Of course, if you collected all of the gems in the second game, well, you know what this is. But if you actually play this game, and not the other ones, well, you don't really know. So, this game is all about Cortex striking back. Now, as you can see, this is actually the first time that we've been introduced to a new character, which actually does have an introduction. Sure, the previous characters added, they were introduced, but there was absolutely no explanation. But this time, the character in question that is actually introduced for this game is actually, I think it's Aku Aku or Uka Uka. I would say it's Aku Aku, Uka Uka's twin brother, whom has been released from his prison after Dr. Neocortex, I think, set him free, or not. But no matter what, he has been watching over Crash Bandicoot and friends for a while now, and his patience is growing a bit thin, considering the fact that Cortex hasn't been able to actually defeat Crash yet. But the mask itself has actually a plan to actually help capturing that Bandicoot easier by introducing some minions, and as you can see, there's one in the distance right here. So anyway, the setup of this game is the same as in the previous one. You have to travel through different time periods and levels. Now, unlike the previous game, you are actually traveling through, like I said, time periods and not different locations based on the real world. So you are traveling to the future, to the past, to the ocean, to the Great Wall of China, to medieval images, and even some more. And this actually represented within this warp room. And this actually is a pretty cool design. Sure, the sky about is a bit odd. This may take place at nighttime, but because this is actually not actually anything that relates to it or any time passing, well, it's set during constant night light. Why exactly is that? Has time frozen? Is this a conspiracy theory? Who knows? Now, back in the day when the sequel came out, it was supposed to build up on as much as possible. As you can see, it really did. Now, there's actually a few life improvements. Surprisingly, something that hasn't changed is actually the font of the Wumpa fruit being counted, as well as the health meter. This actually is an interesting aspect. Some things never change. But there's a box counter in the corner. That's cool. The music, as you can hear when you actually listen to it, is actually a really well-made one. Take a listen. And then we had the bonus rounds. They were in the first game, but I would say they are a bit more energetic in this game. Sure, it's the same principle, but I would say the puzzles in these are reasonable. Like, they have become a bit more creative. But unlike the first game, when several bonus rounds are pretty difficult, and the second game were pretty easy, I would say this one strikes a perfect balance in between difficulties. Because it's not stupidly difficult, but neither is it childishly easy. It is a perfect balance. On that aspect, this game really does pass the test. So anyway, with different themes added to this very game, there's a way different, more colorful, vibrant color palette. Now, as you can see, whenever you enter a same theme from different warp rooms, well, the setting is going to change. For instance, we have in the second medieval level, gee whiz, actually at dawn or at twilight. And then we have, well, you'd expect it to be darkness, but no, it is actually set during a rainstorm. But don't be afraid, that rainstorm isn't actually dangerous. You can't be hit by lightning. It's a cosmetic change. Now, I do feel that this was a good call. After all, you don't want it to be environmental changes, so it actually becomes a different level. There should be, of course, be some consistency, and the improvements upon this is actually a decent upgrade. And it was like the same thing in different levels, but in the second game. But I would say there was very few themes which actually did change things. It was essentially concealed into one single setting and one set color palette. But like I said, this one does improve on that aspect really well. Now, as you can see, there are also some vehicle levels introduced. Now, they will become very much prominent at some points, but I will tell you about that soon enough. So, you have different vehicle levels. You have some vehicle segments or a complete vehicle level. Now, as you can see, in the ocean levels, as you can see, you will actually gain access to a mechanical fish that shoots missiles out of its mouth. Now, this is a video game, so real life does not apply, but how exactly are these missiles fired out, being able to actually flow on a straight path? Okay, so now I will actually talk about the next segment, which is honestly going to be about what they were introducing that was brand new. So remember this guy? Well, they are actually introducing some new enemies along the way, which serve as this game's bosses. Throughout the game, you'll be encountering brand new bosses. Now, the first boss is Tiny Tiger. He is actually at a Colosseum in Rome. Now you will only unlock him after you have beat all 5 levels. And you actually have to beat him so that you can make all of the other levels playable. So it's not like you can simply just unlock him and then you do not do anything with him or revisit. You actually have to beat each and every boss so you can unlock the next warp room, and so you will actually be able to actually gain some more. Now the next boss is this guy, Dingo Dial. Now he is actually slightly technological because while Tiny Tiger uses a lot of lines, and then you have him trying to smash you with his trident, and then you have to attack him when he's down. Dingo Dial, in my opinion, is one of the easier bosses, considering the fact that he doesn't actually have that much on the offensive. Sure, he isn't actually that active, but he is using this gun right here, and he's encased in crystal. Don't think you can actually smash these crystals yourself or try to actually get close to him. You actually have to let him smash them himself with his gun. And you actually do this as many times so that there's an opening. Then you will be able to spin him, and then you have to get away before he's actually able to kill you with it. Do this as many times as possible, and you will be golden. Okay, so next up is this Bean guy, which is honestly someone I've been showing you several times. Now he is the creator of the very time machine that we are using, to travel to the different time periods and portals. Which to me is a really cool detail. It actually does add some lore to the universe of this game. Now his boss fight is all about avoiding these time waves, which will dematerialize crash whenever it's being touched. Now you actually avoid them several times. Now this is like game design back in the day, so it's kind of easy to actually explain where all of these will be going. So it's not as difficult as some of the others, But if you are expecting it to, if you are simply just taking him as a joke, well, you will actually treat it as a joke, and you will be dematerialized as I said. Now, next up, we're moving on to probably the best boss in the entire game, and that one is N-Jin. Now, N-Jin is Cortex's scientific buddy. Now, he was actually the only returning boss in this entire game, well, aside from Cortex. His boss fight is actually kind of, I would say it's not necessarily difficult, but it can become difficult if you don't expect it. Now, there's two stages to this. So first up, you actually have to place Coco, and you have to blast down this robotic suit by basically blasting him blasting him on the sensitive parts, and they are the ones that are glowing in yellow. You first have to eliminate this robotic thing, and then it switches body. You then have to break the shuttle thing. Now that becomes slightly difficult, and you have to once again be really at it and avoid his attacks as much as possible. I'm just gonna say this whenever this boss happens. Just stay on your toes. You should not take this one easy. And then there is Dr. Neocortex. He is really easy in the second game, but in this third game he's a bit more difficult, but still manageable. Now, the post game of this game is actually really cool. Now, you actually unlock different power-ups when you beat each and every boss. Now, on Tiny Tiger, you are unlocking the supercharged Bellow Flop. It allows you to break these metal boxes. At Dingo Die, you will unlock a double jump. On Time Traveling Guy, Nefarious Trophy, you unlock a spin. You unlock an infinite spin. And on Engine, you unlock a Wumpa Fruit Cannon. And after the final boss, you will be unlocking speed shoes. Now, these speed shoes are kick-ass, and they're so much fun to use. Just hold down the circle button whenever you're walking, and you will be running like crazy. Now, in the second game, there was really only one thing to do, and that was to collect all of the gems, which was pleasant enough. But this time, they're adding time travel. They're adding time trials. Now, time trials are supposed to be a test to see if you are good while you're spinning up. And now, that can be kind of difficult because one, you are not having any checkpoints. You basically lose your booty cam. And then you have to, along the way, if you want to actually beat this, smash these boxes, as you can see, with numbers on them. Now, that is how many seconds time will stop, so that you will be able to clear this as much as possible. And there are 3 different time stones, or whatever you want to call it, that you can gain. And those are Sapphire, Gold, and Platinum. Now, there's actually, on some levels, if you select few, there's actually a very special pad you can step on, and sort of the shape of a skull. Now, that is going to take you to the death route. Now, the death route is actually necessary for 100% in the game. You are basically placed on a level, special level. So sure, not part of that world, and not really send you to a warp room. Now, these are difficult. They are meant to be. You are simply not able to hit any checkpoints, with one exception. And your intention is to avoid as many enemies as possible. Avoid the enemies as much as possible. They are somewhat easy to avoid, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be taken for granted. My recommendation is to use the Fruitsuka you've gained and basically kill all of them. Now, as you can see, when you reach the end of one of these, you can choose to actually exit the level or go back to the previous level, so that you can finish the complete level, and then gain as much extra stuff as possible. Which is to be recommended. Sure, it takes a bit more time, but it doesn't really matter. I definitely think that you should go for that instead of going for just finishing the level if you want to 100% the game. So, as you can tell, there's actually a lot of things I was able to get through in this video, and honestly, I should highly warmly recommend you playing Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped if that is your cup of tea. It has a lot of good stuff going for it. Sure, it's an offline single-player adventure, but if you simply want to have one of those now compared to nowadays, then yes, it is absolutely worth getting. Now, there's also the Reignited Trilogy version, which is on stand beside the originals as being perfectly serviceable remakes for a younger generation of gamers. Now, which version you want to get? Well, that's up to you. So, that was everything I will give you. See you next time. Bye!